Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Apadmi's Advance Your App webinar, where we're going to learn about App Store optimization strategy and how to get your app seen by the people you want it to be seen, and get them to say the things you'd like them to say about it. In a second, I'm going to introduce our speakers, but quickly to run through the agenda and what we're going to learn today: a three-step approach to getting your app seen by the people you want, how you want it, and with the reviews that you're after. We're going to talk about App Store optimization, app promotion, and community management. And afterwards, there'll be a Q&A with the panel. So please scribble any notes you've got down. Please chuck them in. There's some smart people on the call. I'm not one of them. Some App Store experts, and they'd be happy to answer those questions. My job is chairperson today. I'm Marcus Hadfield, Chief Strategy Officer at Apadmi. I've been working in customer-facing marketing and comms for longer than I care to imagine. Been with Apadmi for 6 years and responsible for the why we do things and what are the results we're trying to achieve. With me, we've got Jess Hill. Jess joined Apadmi from the Hub Group, where she was working in a number of marketing roles, most recently content marketing. She joined Apadmi to establish our product marketing offering and worked with the Co-op and Domino's, amongst others, driving App Store optimization, driving reviews, and promoting any App Store features. Martha, next to Jess, she joined Apadmi to do the same, focusing on community management, App Store promotion for SaleGP and Charles Stanley, following a career in fashion strategy and broadcast, most recently at the BBC. And finally, no video, but on the call, Dominic Adams from our clients at the Co-op. Dominic's e-commerce and membership marketing manager at the Co-op. He brings a lot of experience from Sainsbury's and Argos on the digital planning, content and trading spaces. At the Co-op, his focus is for the performance marketing strategy, and especially how do we drive up uptake and downloads of their brilliant app. So about Apadmi, for those that you don't know, we are a Manchester-based business. There are 196 of us as of today. We've just opened an office in Edinburgh and one in Utrecht. But our mission is to create technology that drives clients and their customers forward. Everything we do is about driving a value. We've been in business for 13 years, and I suppose our core product, the thing that we're most famous for, are the complex mobile apps and mobile products we deliver for our clients. Those clients are a number of the UK and the world's sort of bigger organisations, everyone from the NHS, who don't need our help in App Store promotion for the work that we do on organ donation, but to the Co-op, who we're going to hear from Argos, Domino's Pizza, and I'm going to share some of the work we've done with them, Dunnes Stores, Chelsea Football Club, and a whole host more. Our job for them is largely building and delivering amazing solutions, but there's no point building those fantastic solutions if people can't find them. And that's what we're going to get into today. Now, you can pay to drive downloads. Everybody pays to drive downloads. That's part of the game. But paid advertising costs a lot of money. And actually, the app stores can often be overlooked. So the Apple App Store and Google Play Store are where the conversion happens. That's where you download the app. There's a small amount that happens in Huawei, but really that's where most of the App Store, the app downloads happen. And for us, with those 5.4 million apps in the App Store, how do you make sure that the app that you want to talk about gets seen and downloaded? And that's increasingly challenging. It's increasingly challenging with the number of competitors that are in the market. Apple and Google make it difficult for a good reason. They want to protect their customers. So making sure that things are compliant, are launched well, is part of the problem. Making sure that they're seen and they rank and we take advantage of all of the features and offers that Apple and Google offer is part of the problem as well. So what we do, we help people see it. We get it into the app stores, we get it promoted, we get it found, because 65% of downloads come from search. We then look at how do we make sure people convert. What does it look like in the store? You know, is it presented well? Is the story compelling? And finally, and probably one of the most important parts of it, is we make sure that the reviews are both read, monitored, and maintained, because there's nothing worse than having a brilliant app and people complain perhaps about the queue to the store to get in there, and they shelve all the responsibility onto the app, Our job is to read the reviews and unpick what are the real things that customers are saying, how can we learn from it, how can we optimize our future development, but also how can we manage those reviews in a sensible way, how can we make sure that people are making valid points about things that we want to do, answering any problems that they've got, and ultimately driving those App Store ratings up. You know, we are always looking for anything over and above 4.5 stars or more. How do you drive those ever important ratings? And Jess will talk about the power of the ratings and what they mean for conversion in a sec. So I'm going to hand over to Jess, who's going to talk you through those 3 steps: App Store optimization, App Store promotion, and community management.
Well, thanks, Marcus. I will have to just issue a slight apology at the moment. I have a bit of a cold, and you probably will notice that, but hopefully I'll be able to get through everything fine. But yeah, thanks for that intro, Marcus. We've kind of got a bit of a 3-step approach to App Store optimization. As per latest Google Play stats, you'll be shocked to know that there are about 3.48 million apps currently on the Google Play Store, and around 1.8 million apps on the App Store, with over 600 million weekly App Store visitors. It's really important to make sure that your app's product page is optimized. Everything starts with the product page. It's the first and most important customer touch point. So yeah, our approach to App Store optimization covers 3 core strands. App Store optimization, so this is basically optimizing your app's product page to give it the best chance of ranking higher within its category, leading to higher visibility, increased downloads, and a better conversion rate. App Store promotion, this is essentially generating PR within the App Store and on Google Play for anything from new features, app updates, and wider marketing initiatives. And then also finally, community management. This is obviously monitoring your in-app community, responding to app ratings and reviews. So yeah, for anyone who's not aware, App Store optimization is that process of organically improving an app's listing on both the iOS App Store and the Google Play Store. App Store optimization is the most effective way to get more downloads without having to pay for any ads. So it's a great way to organically boost your visibility, from using keyword optimization, metadata optimization, iterative testing, and regular updates. You'll get your app to show up in more search results and also improve conversion rate of your page, turning more impressions into downloads. So to touch on sort of each area of our sort of optimization strategy, keywords are one major factor in App Store optimization, as customers use keywords in various combinations to search for your app. So the most important action to take when you start your App Store optimization journey is keyword research. This means you research, analyze, and place selected keywords on your app product page to maximize the chance of getting found by your potential users. So app developers will utilize keywords that will most accurately describe their app and choose them based on what their target audience will enter in the search bar for similar apps. So our recommendation would be to do competitor research, analyze what keywords they're using that you can also utilize. Equally as well, read review comments, analyze what words users are utilizing to describe your app, and all of these can be important as part of your keyword strategy. Again, as previously mentioned, your app's product page is the most important customer touch point when it comes to your app. People only stay on the App Store page for 7 seconds before they decide whether to download or ditch. So again, that's a really short amount of time for you to grab your users' attention. Every element of your App Store product page has the power to drive downloads of your app. So regular incremental improvements tend to be better than sporadic overhauls of your app. Making little iterations and frequent updates can always differ depending on your goals and your app's functionality. Some apps may need to update every 2 weeks, while others may have a cycle of up to 2 months. But roughly, on average, an update at least once a month is optimum. But again, not only that, market needs and trends can change really quickly. So again, it's just keeping your ear to the ground, doing that competitor and market research. But as part of optimizing your product page, screenshots need to be reflective and representative of your app, highlighting those key features and functionalities. Utilize your copy character length, so your app name subtitle can be up to 30 characters long. Utilize that, pull in those keywords. You also have the opportunity to have an app preview video on your product page. Again, another way to showcase its features and functionalities. Conversion rate optimization is another sort of key area of that App Store optimization journey. App conversion rate optimization involves optimizing your app experience based on user behavior to improve the chances of users taking desired action of downloading, installing, and making purchases within your app. Improving your CRO for an app can lead to significantly that's a cold word, significantly higher conversions that translate into increased revenue. So when making any iterative changes to your app's product page, we highly recommend making them based off of data-driven decisions. So this can be done through Google Store listing experiments. You can test different elements of your product page to understand which results in the most engagement. Equally as well, Apple launched, alongside the launch of iOS 15 late last year, their product page optimization. This is essentially the App Store's equivalent of Google Store listing experiments. So another tool that allows you to test multiple product page assets to see which performs best for your users. The Apple's feature is slightly different to Google's in that it gives you the option to test 3 variations compared to Google's 2. But you can't experiment with your description. Only the app icon, screenshots, and preview video can be tested. But yeah, diving into the results data that you can get can give you valuable insight into what features users may find more appealing when it comes to choosing whether or not to download your app. So in-app events, this is actually only an iOS feature, so it's not currently available on Google Play. However, it'd be really interesting to see if this is something they'll jump on or try and match over the coming years. But yes, iOS, this was launched last year as part of iOS 15. Since then, since they've hit the market at the end of 2021, we've seen a variety of brands across various industry sectors trying them out as a way, again, to improve that organic visibility. For those that are unaware, in-app events are timely events within your app, equally games as well, which allow people to discover your in-app event right on the App Store on iOS. It's basically giving you an entirely new way to showcase your app's event and what's happening in your app by expanding its reach. So in-app events will appear on your app's product page. It will either be shown above or below your screenshots and descriptions, depending on whether you set it as a high priority. It can also appear in search results, so when users are searching for your app or the event specifically. And then also as well in Apple's editorial curated collections. So again, this is another great opportunity for Apple to feature your app and in-app event within the App Store. So you can utilize it just to target new users, equally as well keep your current user base informed, but another opportunity to reconnect with any lapsed users as well. What's also really worth noting about this is you can submit in-app events independent of a new app version, and could have up to 10 approved events in the App Store at any time.
It's worth mentioning as well quickly that we're to stay tuned, because we're actually going to give you guys a couple of examples of our own in-app events that we've done with clients since they've launched, and it's quite an interesting range from co-op to sale GP, so a taste of the kind of live events that you can use for your apps. Sorry, Jess, Karen.
Thanks,
no, of course, thank you.
Just before Jess gets back into it, there are on the right hand side of your panel, you'll see a thing that says if you've got questions, scribble them down. So if you want to send them in, please do, and we'll come to those at the end, because there's a lot of good stuff to get through.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, save all your questions for the end for our lovely Q&A panel. Yeah, just like in-app events, iOS also brought out custom product pages as part of iOS 15. So again, this is only an iOS feature at the moment and not on Google Play. But again, it'll be interesting to see if they come up with anything similar. But custom product pages basically drive users to unique product pages. You can have up to 35 different variations, and each one comes with a unique URL. This unique URL can then go out with your wider marketing initiatives. So basically now with custom product pages and deep linking, the user can go from a particular ad campaign through to a personalized product page that either highlights a specific feature for them, specific content within your app that would be relevant for them, and then it will take them to that specific area of the app as well, and it can all be fully trackable. So So yeah, I think there's a lot of positives for custom product pages. Not a lot out there at the moment, and again, still a relatively new feature, but I think there's a lot that can be jumped on with this for apps and brands. And now I'm actually going to pass over to our guest speaker from the Co-op, Dominic, who will very much be delving into our partnership with the Co-op app. Over to you, Dominic.
Hello, you can hear me, right?
We can hear you, we just can't see you, but I've seen enough of you, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good thing that I'm not on camera, but I look like that picture.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thanks so much for inviting me to come along today to talk. I'm really keen to talk about the fantastic work that we've been doing together on our general partnership. But yeah, so our trusted relationship with Apadmi started in 2017, and I think just from a context perspective, I'll give a bit of an overview of our journey in general with app marketing and the general co-op strategy. So about a few years ago, we developed an app. We brought it to market, and it was part of our closer to you strategy, which ultimately aims to deepen the connection that we've got with our customers, our members, and our communities. And our digital product team, who are world class, carried out extensive research and basically built an app that aligns to that strategy and basically connects kind of that content strategy together along with financial reward for our members and that community contribution. So it's a great app, and in terms of what our app can do, it does 4 key things, I would say. So it connects our members into content that's important to them, so working across our business from a brand perspective, but then also from a general trade perspective, bringing that content to the surface of our app and giving our members visibility of that. There's probably the members' favourite part of the app, which is the rewards. So we have a proposition called digital weekly offers, where as a member you are rewarded with 2 offers per week. And we basically see that the technology that we use there makes those deals very precise and very relevant. So the capabilities that we've got around that and the amplification to customer value and promotion has really stepped on. Now it's integrated into the app. And then the final 2 bits of the app basically are just amplifications of our 2+2 proposition. So as a member, when you spend at the co-op, you get 2% back in financial reward, and then also 2% back to local and community funds. So the first bit basically allows members to do that digitally and collect points digitally, and add it to your wallet, understand what points you've got, etc. And then the second point is probably my favourite bit, because I think it aligns so well to our general business strategy, which is it allows you to select local causes and select local causes to donate to out of that 2+2. So I think overall what it does a great job of in general is connecting kind of personal reward and community contribution to drive the social goals that we have at the co-op, but also our commercial goals. So kind of to the point of the webinar is to Marcus's point at the start, we've got a really good product. Some say it's 4.8, I say it's 5-star app. But effectively, how can we deliver that to market now, and how can we give it more oxygen to not only acquire new customers and members for business growth, but also help as a retention tool? So in terms of that kind of journey so far, we brought the product to market a few years ago, and there was a large period of induction into market. So that was testing, feeding back, optimizing the actual capabilities that we have, alongside a bit of organic optimizations that were going on from a marketing perspective. And then in 2020, we launched or relaunched our general membership proposition, which behind that there was huge kind of commercial targets that we needed to hit. So we did go a bit biased towards paid media and really drive kind of a core paid strategy to acquire those members and those app downloads. And across that, we did that very successfully. So we were able to achieve our targets through paid means. And then we're also able to lower down our cost per install across the board and get that to a relatively good number. But then there was kind of a period where we've been doing a bit of ASO on the side, but how do we bring that into the marketing mix? and use it less as a tactic and more kind of within that strategic marketing mix that we've got. So we, in 2020, obviously reached out, and Apadmi presented us with the opportunity to kind of put together and design what that ASO strategy for the co-op could look like. And there's been some fantastic stuff that's been done across the year, which we'll go into the results in a minute. But effectively, I think what's important at the moment is within, well, as a marketing team, we very much see this as complementary. So we've got ASO driving its own performance, but it also complements what we already do across the paid estate as well. So, for example, some great work that Jess has been doing on optimizing product cards has actually seen our conversion rate on paid increase. So across the board, we're not necessarily seeing it as an organic and paid, we're seeing it as an overall marketing strategy, and seeing how those two areas can work together and complement each other. And then I think just probably a good point to raise on this webinar is I think a challenge that businesses and organisations might be facing at the moment, and that is basically, where do you invest? Do you invest in paid? Do you invest in organic? And I think something that's been really helpful from Apadmi is building up that business case and really building that business case with data. So by having that and having the commercials and having the kind of returns, it's been really helpful for us at the co-op to really understand what we would get for the ASO investment. And I think based on that, we've been able to really drive a number of metrics, which I think is on the next slide. But across there, what you can see quite staggeringly is the amount that we've been able to achieve since launch, but primarily, a few things have been driven within year as well. But that's, huge increases in year-on-year new members, huge increases year-on-year in app downloads. A big thing for me and an important thing for us in the marketing team is how could we drive up that app rating? So taking it from a 2.8 to a 4.8. Not only does that help kind of with member confidence, but it generally helps within the business to talk about how fantastic our app is. And then, I think, I won't go through all the points, but there's, some great stuff there in terms of what we wanted to achieve and how Apadmi's helped us achieve them. And definitely within the ASO space, getting that buy-in and building that internal confidence is something that we've been really focused on. And again, something that Apadmi's been brilliant on supporting us on. So I really can't advocate the team enough, but also just the general specialism that's been brought into our business with Apadmi to help us really drive our ambitions that we've got within our general membership proposition, but also our app strategy. So I think that was pretty much all that I had to say on this section. But I think if there's anything else, we can pick it up in Q&A.
Brill, thanks Dominic. And I have to say, I'm a big fan of just the co-op app in general. I was before I started helping on the ASO strategy. I'm an avid member. There are some very good offers. But it's been really great to see so the impact we've had since we've started working with them. And I'd say it was probably more towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, that we aligned closely more with Dominic and the wider marketing performance team over at the co-op. So yes, when we started working with the co-op app from launch, we got some really great success stories from that. But just in regards to our recent app store optimization strategy, where we've sort of planned a sort of full roadmap for the year that aligns with their wider marketing plans, we've equally had some really good app store optimization success stories. So we launched the very first retail in-app event on the App Store, obviously when iOS 15 launched that feature. Since that, we've launched 2 further successful in-app events since, which I'll go on to on the next slide. But since we started, again, this strategy, app downloads have increased 54% on iOS, again, from the previous period, and 11% on Android. And their category ranking has climbed 42% on iOS and 31% on Android. It's just worth noting with that category ranking very much fluctuates. So we noticed sort of around March time it started to really go up, and then in Easter, April time, which we're aware we had an in-app event running, it peaked at 9 within the shopping category for Android, and it peaked at 7 in the shopping category for iOS. So you can just really see how working on App Store optimization can increase its organic visibility. But yeah, as mentioned, probably multiple times already on this webinar, we launched the very first retail in-app event for Co-op in November last year. And since then, we've ran 2 further in-app events, helping to promote their various membership acquisition campaigns that usually feature exclusive app content and promotional offers. But we've had, what's again really great about these, we've had both recent in-app events feature under events you might like on the App Store. We also successfully launched an in-app event for SailGP to promote their live racing event. So you can already see there the value of it for different brands, and it's just what you've got to offer and how you position it that's key to think about. But yeah, in-app events are clearly growing and evolving, as are Apple's review processes, and we're continually learning what can and can't be included, and the types of things that the team really look out for when reviewing.
Yeah, with the SailGP event, especially because it was a live event, we were seeing people actually setting notifications to be reminded when the event was going to be launching, and essentially people could follow the race with some really amazing shots on the boat with the app. So it's something that a lot of the super fans of the racing really enjoy. So it's great that they could actually have a reminder on their phone to actually direct them straight to the app, and we saw people actually following that process of then getting the notification and then opening the app when the event started. So it's really great to see that journey of people actually seeing the event and then all the way through to actually watching the live event.
No, definitely. And yeah, really great point to note as well. The metrics you can check from an in-app event is the event impressions, the downloads just from that event, any app opens, and again, if you do set your event to go live before the event starts, they can set event reminders and again notification taps. But yeah, again, lots of really great things to see from in-app events. But yeah, I will now go on to the second strand of our sort of App Store optimization strategy. And again, with a good ASO strategy, you can organically improve your app's visibility in the app stores, but it's mostly optimizing your app for App Store search and Google Play search. By utilizing App Store promotion and getting your app featured, it can increase your app's visibility within App Store Browse and Google Play Explore by appearing within those editorial curated collections on the app stores. But app quality is, I'd say, most important for app featuring. Every week, over 500 dedicated experts around the world review over 100k apps. Apple specifically, over 215k submissions were rejected last year just by Apple for violating their privacy guidelines. So there's a lot of things to consider when looking at how to get your app featured on the app stores, which again we will very much go into. But yeah, according to data collected by Apptopia, where they studied 30 days of featured apps and games, on average, apps received a 70,047% download boost if featured. I think games saw roughly a 792% bump. It's worth noting established apps will usually receive less of that increase, which isn't really a shock. Apps that were already ranking within the top 20 of their respective category before being featured only received an average download boost of 40%. So we do tend to see that this kind of featuring could be really beneficial for new apps or apps after launch, but again has benefits to apps at whatever stage of their journey. So before we delve into how you can get featured across the app stores, I thought we should quickly take a look at the type of app features that are available for both iOS and Android. So with Apple features, it can be anything from developer profiles to how-to stories to game or app of the day, which all show within the Today tab on your iPhone, and then they can also be featured within lists and collections on the app tab. Google features, there are 3 main types of app features in the Play Store, and that's popular, new and selected by the Google team. When the Google team selects apps that they'll be featured in, it can be anything from like new apps, editor's choice, staff picks, top developers. So again, there's a lot of categories for your app to be considered in, and I think it's always worth doing a bit of research before submitting your app for a potential feature. But yeah, in regards to what they look for in terms of an app that they'll feature, an optimized product page, I'd say is the main focal point. Again, as we've said, it's the most important part of a user's journey. It's a main touch phone. It's the first thing that both your user and the App Store editorial team will see when looking to feature it. So utilize keywords within your app name, subtitle, long description, your short description on Android. Screenshots, utilize all the screenshots to highlight core features and key functionalities of your app. With iOS, you can have up to 10. With Android, you can have up to 8. You don't necessarily need to have all of them, but I can't remember if I mentioned before, but at a minimum of 5, we would say. Again, as long as you're really putting your app in the best light. Categories, so categories help users discover the apps on the App Store. So on iOS, you can assign 2 to your app, a primary and a secondary. On Android, you can have a primary and then a further 5 tags. So again, it's really important that you make sure you're tagging it within a relevant category. For example, co-op is in the shopping category. If it was in something different, would users come across it as easily? So again, really important factor. Ratings and reviews play an important role in how an app ranks within app stores. Your what's new copy as well is a really good opportunity to let users know what you're updating, but equally a chance to get a bit of brand and extra copy and keywords within there as well.
Yeah, I think the example we've used here, Carrier, it's a menopause app. So actually supports people going through that time in their life with a number of different features. But the app has been featured many times now on the App Store with App of the Day. It's currently sitting in a top line feature at the moment on the App Store. And I think why is because they've really utilised all these features in a really clever way. They've made the most of the screenshots. They've used a really lovely app preview video. If you have time later, I'd recommend going and checking it out and seeing why it's being featured so much and picked up by Apple, because not only obviously is it a really important app, it's just the way that they've used everything, and the description's really snappy but still informative. It's sometimes hard to strike that balance with things like descriptions of wanting to make sure that you get your point across, but then also not wanting to overload with information. So that's something that they've done really well here. And then also the what's new and promotional text. I know that for SaleGP, we often use that to just remind people that there's an app coming up. So it doesn't always have to be about what's new in terms of bug fixes, because that's the classic thing that you always see in there is bug fixes. But you can actually use it in a more informative way to tell fans that the race is coming up. I know, Jess, that you found a really good example of Monzo the other day when it was about 40 degrees. They were using really playful copy in their what's new and promotional text, again, to like continue that brand tone of voice throughout the whole experience that the user's getting with their app. I can't remember what they said in their promotional text.
Yeah, I think it was either yesterday or the day before that I saw it, and it was creative ways of using your Monzo card to create shade or as a fan. Again, I'm a big fan of Monzo's sort of brand identity. Fab. And then user experience and UI design, again, is another area that the app stores will look at. I don't know if you want to sort of go through the example that we had, Martha.
Yeah, this is just a really nice example. Again, it's been picked up, actually, this one, not just with Apple, but also Google. So it's won a couple of awards there with Editor's Choice, but also for Apple, it's won, I think, App of the Day. And essentially, it's also won a design award with Google a couple of years back. So it actually helps people to de-stress with daily journaling, and it uses AI-powered user experience. And so the way that the UI elements appear on the screen, it's all very it's motion choreographed, and it's got just a really lovely user experience that I think is important, because people are going to that app to actually relax and unwind. So the last thing they want is a jarring experience. And I think this is something that carries on over to other apps, that you have to think about what your user is going to your app for. So for example, with SaleGP, they're going there because they want to experience thrilling race. So your user interface needs to reflect that. If they're going to, for example, a finance app, then it needs to be really straightforward. You need to make sure that the user experience is simple, because no one wants a stressful banking app experience. So I think it's just really important to bear that in mind when you're, looking at your user experience, that actually it sort of matches the mood that you want to create for that user when they're using the app. And this app does that really well.
Yeah, 100%. You want to make sure that it's got valuable functionality that's helpful and easy to use, but equally as well that your users have a really cohesive and efficient experience when going through the app. Accessibility, I'd say accessibility is the most important part of any app, and again, something that when getting featured that the app stores will keep an eye out for and look for. So whether you're developing a new app or improving an existing one, consider the accessibility of your app's components. By integrating accessibility features and services, you can improve your app's usability, particularly for users with disabilities. But not only that, well-integrated features provide a great experience for a broad range of users and can help when it comes to featuring your app. So a good example of an app that is doing accessibility well is Airbnb. They have a collaboration with Lighthouse for the blind and visually impaired and level access. So they're basically researching into how people with limited vision use screen access technology on their app, as well as their website. But they have then created a dedicated team to educating their engineers and designers about building online experiences that everyone can use. And not only that, they extended their accessibility support right into their actual product offering. So guests can now select features they need in a home, wider doors, hallways, step-free access. So yeah, I think this is a really important thing for any app to be looking at. Again, you want to make sure that you're inclusive to all your user base and making sure that they can all utilize your app and its products. I think another good example that me and Martha came across Twitter, they offer additional accessibility features such as screen reading, reducing motion of in-app animation. So yeah, design your app to support accessibility needs and develop your app using accessibility best practices.
Yeah, I think it's something that we're still sort of working on within Apadmi. We have, working groups within the design team that are actually focusing on accessibility and how we can make our apps that we currently work with more accessible. We're sort of researching with a wide group of people, so it's quite it's still something that's in progress, I'd say, for a lot of apps. But it's good that it's finally sort of getting addressed.
100%. And I think lastly, an area that again is considered for getting your app featured is its innovativeness and its uniqueness. So in regards to innovation, they're keeping their eye out and they're looking for apps that solve a unique problem for users, or equally as well takes advantage of new technologies to provide an optimal experience, user experience. Both Google Play and Apple are looking out for you utilizing their latest features, but also the fact that you're building an experience, or like I said, solving a unique problem. I recently attended a Create Incredible App session, which was hosted by Apple and members from the App Store editorial team, and they called out an app called Endel, which you can see on the screen, and it was highlighted for its innovativeness and uniqueness, and it's also received an App of the Day feature. Basically, it's powered by its patented AI technology, so it creates AI-powered sounds designed to support your everyday life, so sleep, focus, relax, study and move, and it's learning as it goes to create those soundscapes. I've actually downloaded it myself. I would recommend it. It is good. But yeah, I think alongside everything we've touched on as well, it's just making sure that your app functions, it's crash free on popular devices, so make sure you're testing it on different devices, taking advantage of iOS and Android's latest additions, equally as well making sure that your app is localized into major languages, and just overall having a good user experience. And then yeah, we actually at Apadmi built an app that we would consider, or Apple even considered, innovative within the edtech sector, and we went on to secure 3 strong features within the App Store. So My First 5 Years, if you've not come across the app yet, is a child development app for parents. Basically helps them to marvel in the moments and not just in the milestones. They're very much on a mission to change the face of parenting, born from the expertise and passion of its co-founders, who between them have over 50 years of early childhood development experience between them. But yeah, post-launch, we supported the app through launch, but post-launch, we worked very closely with both My First 5 Years and Apple to ensure that we could get that app in front of the right audience. Apple, from our conversations and the editorial team, were able to see how My First 5 Years stood out from its competitors within the market, offering an innovative solution to parents whilst also providing a sleek user experience. Since working with them, we secured 3 spotlight features on the App Store. So a feature within New App this week, and an editorial story titled 4 New Apps That We Love, alongside an App of the Day feature. What was really nice in the 4 New Apps That We Love article, Apple described the app as one of their latest and greatest must-download apps, then going on to say that it's a really great tool for parents to support their child's development. That particular coverage saw My First 5 Years app downloads increase 27 more times than the rolling average. The My First 5 Years App of the Day feature increased impressions by a number I can't even say, but 468,082%. Product page views increased by 9,285%. And as you can see, downloads were boosted by 5,762%. But again, a really great example of an app sort of in its infancy that without these features was not getting, obviously it's trying to break out into that market. So this kind of featuring is so beneficial because it really increases that visibility.
I think it's worth mentioning as well that like Jess might be a bit too humble to say it, but Jess and the wider team and the My First 5 Years team, they worked really tirelessly. This was something that didn't happen overnight. It was weeks, if not months and months of work. There's so much that goes into getting these features, and then once they're actually offered the feature, for example the App of the Day feature, the amount of design time, copywriting, everything that went into it, it was a big project, but it was something that was so worthwhile, and it was so worth building that relationship amongst the teams and with Apple to actually secure this, because as we see, the results were pretty astronomical. So I think it's really well done to Jess. But yeah, it's one of those things that takes time and sometimes patience, but it's so worth it.
No, of course, there's nothing like building a really great product, but then if no one's seeing it, you want to be able to shout about it. And the best place to get that is within App Store and Google Play Store, because then it's getting out to those users. So yeah, lots of benefits to App Store promotion. But yeah, we'll now explore our final strand of our 3-step approach, community management. This essentially is looking at your ratings and reviews. They play a very important role in how an app ranks within both app stores. So yeah, we'll very much delve into this. As you can see from this graph, the lower your App Star rating, the less likely a consumer is to download your app. I'll be honest, from my perspective, if it's 1, 2 stars, I'm probably not going to trust it, same as a TripAdvisor review. But yeah, community management is crucial to boost that credibility and essentially to help improve conversions. Again, as you can see, just by jumping 1 star, so from 3 to 4, it can increase your app's conversion rate by 89%. So this is just as important as all the other areas that we've talked about. That there's no point directing people to your app if they're going to see that other users aren't enjoying their experience.
Yeah, we've seen that 3 to 4 star jump actually work in practice with SaleGP. Yes. So since we started the product marketing just a few months ago with them, we've seen the app go from 3.6 to 4.1 star in the App Store. And a lot of that is reasons that you'll see here about you know, being able to get that first-hand feedback and then using it to improve the app and to fix any issues really timely and to make sure that you're keeping in contact with those users. And we actually saw conversion rates have really increased. I think it's gone from about 1.5% to 7% conversion rate over the past just 2-3 months. And we've also seen downloads increase plenty over this time as well. I think it's by about 230% that downloads have increased. So again, it really drives home that fact that even just moving it up 1 star is going to make like a whole world of difference, because when people land on that page, they're seeing you're instantly going to trust something more the more stars you see and the more reviews you see as well.
Yeah, 100%, and that's it. And obviously, really great example, and not there are wider benefits to not just conversion, as we can see on this slide, but it's just really crucial that any negative reviews are applied to as soon as possible, and then you feed that back to sort of the wider app and development team. For an app to grow, that acknowledged feedback from your users can then help your product roadmap. If they're offering a suggestion for a feature that would really benefit them, you can implement that. It's allowing you to spot any errors in real time. So if you're doing daily monitoring of your app store ratings and reviews, and you see that there's a bug, you can feed that back and action it and get it fixed as quickly as possible. Your customers want to be heard as an individual and addressed personally, and by listening to reviews, that's again a good chance to, if someone's had an issue and it's a 1 or 2 star, you go back and resolve it. There's that opportunity for that star to grow. And again, as we've both discussed, 70% of people read at least 1 review before they choose to download an app, with a further 13% reading at least 7 before making a decision. So you want to show that you're not only listening but evolving your app and going back to them and monitoring that community. So yeah, an example of where we've been doing this, we support Domino's in their community management. So we're providing that community management for over 2 million monthly active users. But they originally, for quite a long period, weren't going back to that user base, but now it's allowed them to get a better understanding of their customers. They've implemented things into their product roadmap, and they've release new features within the app based off what users have said. But not only that, they've been able to spot issues and catch them before they became or evolved any further. It's very much worth noting that community management isn't always going to provide significant increase to your ratings. And sometimes for the customer base of the size of, say, Domino's and its stature, it becomes an opportunity of maintaining your already good rating, providing that opportunity to spot and fix bugs in real time, connect with your customers and implement features, and also adding another extension of your brand. We very much in our responses utilize Domino's playful tone of voice, and it's another avenue of them building their full brand identity. But
yeah, I was reading that research the other day that said about brand loyalty among consumers is wavering. I think it's 3 in 10 consumers are now saying they're more likely to try a new brand over a previous brand that they were quite loyal to, and a quarter have admitted that they actually stopped buying from a certain business or brand that they used to regularly in the past year. So I think what you're saying, Jess, is so relevant, that like keeping that Domino's brand reputation, not just across their social media, but also on their app, which is a huge touch point for so many customers, because so many people now, especially since COVID, don't go to the store to collect their pizza, they're using the app. I think it's so important to keep that brand reputation and that consistency, especially with the way that you reply to reviews. You always keep that tone of voice. It's quite a playful brand, so you still get to use that playful tone of voice when you respond to those reviews. It's really great.
No, 100%. And just another thing to note with community management as well, alongside creating a bank of stock responses, I would recommend continue refining and evolving over time. We'd really recommend having a strong FAQ section within your app, so that users have that initial touch point to go and see if their questions are already answered, alongside also building some form of complaints channel. So for Domino's as an example, they built within the app an extra sort of avenue for users to provide feedback by an email link. So that's by setting this up and setting up a monitored email address, you can, one, in your reviews, get them to email any further information, say screenshots, anything that would be beneficial for you. But equally as well, you can direct some of those negative conversations away from the product page and get them resolved, sometimes offline as well. So worth noting that could be a good part of your community management strategy.
I think sometimes you've managed to get those 1-star reviews initially up to 4 or 5-star reviews, and that massively then will increase your overall rating, and it's something that we've seen across not just Domino's but our other clients as well. So it's definitely worth considering all those strategies that Jess has just mentioned, because they can actually have a real impact.
Yeah, and even just on the very base level, someone could have accidentally left a review for a different app. I found someone left a Papa John's review for Domino's. I called that out and they updated their rating straight away. So there's quite small wins that you can get. But again, I think it's that longevity piece as well of maintaining your app community. But yeah, that very much rounds up our webinar, and I'm just going to pass back over to Marcus.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks, Martha. That's great. I mean, there's tons in there. And if there's anything that anybody would want to ask questions of, ask them now. Obviously, you can always contact us as well. I've got a couple of questions that I'll throw back at you in a second, guys. But yeah, just for us, the three key takeaways, of which there are many in there, and we'll be summarising this, by the way, and distributing it. But, optimizing keywords will really help you rank in the category listings and make your app more findable in the app stores. I mean, think of it, like Google search. It's a similar principle. Really work hard on the keywords, because we've seen how many people are finding apps through organic search. Use marketing features. In-app events, promotions will definitely push you above the competition. Keep an eye on all of those new features that are coming from Apple and Google. Work out how you can do it and work hard to get there. And finally, dedicate time to the community of reviewers in there. Give your brand a human touch and get the feedback. And we've learned loads from the feedback in reviews. It really informs the future roadmap. This isn't just about driving ratings up, though it is. It's also about making sure that you're learning where the real pain points are and how to improve the app for the future. So there are a few questions have come through. I'm going to start with a pretty straight and simple one, actually. Today you've talked a lot about organic, the organic side of ASO. What about paid App Store campaigns?
I see there's benefits to both, but I think I would recommend having a good organic strategy before then implementing paid. I think I touched on it quite early on in the webinar, and it's like there's no point paying and directing users to your app if you're not doing those things organically to make sure it's best optimized. So again, I think it depends on your app, it depends on your budgets available as well. If you don't have a big budget to put all this spend behind campaigns, it makes sense to do these areas organically, which we've seen has similar results. So I think both can very much work in tandem. I think Dominic touched on it, saying that some of the ASO work we've done also helped boost the paid campaigns. So I don't think it's one size fits all. And I think it's just working out what your end goal is, what your strategy is, and then working it out.
Someone's singled out Dominic here. I'm not allowed to say who's asked the questions. This is a GDPR thing, so sorry for not saying your name. But for Dominic, a direct question. How important is it to have the technical team behind the ASO strategy?
It's so important, it's fundamental. So as Jess said in a lot of her update, a lot of our findings and input into kind of what we want to test on ASO, it's a whole collaborative effort. So a really kind of BAU thing that we do, but super important and super valuable, is we have like bi-weekly catch-ups. So there's myself from marketing, Jess from Apadmi, and then some of our tech teams there as well. So we keep it really close. We're a team that works together, and ultimately we work towards the same goals. So making sure that everyone's feeding into the roadmap, everyone's feeding into the ASO strategy. It's very much a collaborative effort, and so important that we're all aligned and confident in the actions that we're taking on the app. But yeah, I think in summary, super important, because we learn from each other, and then we basically grow the app together.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, this one, anyone can answer this. You've mentioned 3 key areas to invest in, but which is the most valuable? If I've only got the budget for one, which would be the most valuable?
It could depend, doesn't it, really, on such a number of factors. It depends on the type of app you have. It depends on where your app currently stands. Is it in launch for something that's in launch, it might be that you split the budget across all three, so you can do a little bit of each. If you already have a great app that is doing everything perfectly, but for example, Domino's has such a massive volume of reviews that you constantly need to monitor, I think that's something then that you really need to focus on. I don't know what you think, Jess, but I think it really depends on the type of app and the size of the app.
No, 100%. We've seen so an app that's new, establishing itself, something like My First 5 Years, doing a really strong ASO strategy right at the beginning is not necessarily going to be the most beneficial for them. Yes, obviously, when building it, we consider those keywords and the product page descriptions and assets and so forth. But once they've launched, we want to get the name out there. That's why App Store promotion was really beneficial to them, but community management not so needed because there isn't that huge influx at the moment. And then like your bigger brands that are already well established, people can find them on the App Store, they know who it is by searching. It's so those smaller tasks or just one area that's more beneficial. So yeah, again, not one size fits all, but I think it depends on your app, your size and your offering and what you want to achieve.
But it's something that we can tailor to each app, and that we do tailor to each app. So it's not a one size fits all. Yeah.
So, but depending on where you're in your life cycle or your particular needs, you can focus on one more than the other. That's really clear. Okay, another question from. Hey, great session, thank you. In app events, what advice is there around the timelines and planning app events in advance?
So I know from experience you can submit them quite close to the actual start date of your event. I wouldn't recommend that because it's like your app review, it's got to go through the editorial team for review, and with Apple that can be anything from a couple of hours to a couple of days. So I would say prepare very well ahead, but there's no set timeline of when you need to put it out, but I would say give yourself at least a week before your event starts.
I'm going to put you on the spot. At least a week. Okay.
At least a week.
Definitely. You've got to make sure as well you're getting sign off from everyone involved before it goes live as well, on copy, on imagery. So you just need to make sure that all your bases are covered and that all the tech side is also ready to go, and it's not suddenly an issue with that. So I think I tried to do 2 weeks before for mine, just in case.
And just on that point as well, within an app event, you need to have a deep link. So when the user clicks on the in-app event, it will take them to, if they've already got it downloaded, it will take them to the area of the app that you want them to see. So again, it's making sure that your app has that capability for deep links, and then you can utilize that within the in-app event. So again, the more time, the better.
Brilliant. Okay. And the final one I've got, unless any more come through, so our last call for any other questions that might be out there is, it could be a big question this, so let's keep it reasonably short because we're on the hour.
Pressure.
The co-op journey is great. Any additional insights in the journey to get from 2.8 to 4.8 stars? Dominic, I'll let you start there, and then if anyone else wants to chip in, but any additional insights on how you got from 2.8 to 4.8?
Sure. So I think we can't go into some of the details, but I think lots of analysis, lots of feedback, understanding what members are struggling with and what opportunities there are to improve the app, and really investing in the art of feedback. So again, back to Jess's point around the community element, getting into the detail, looking at what people are saying and acting on feedback, and again, to my point earlier, just collaborating with the tech teams to build that into the roadmaps and to build that into the plans. So yeah, I think it's about kind of being unapologetic in getting into the detail, and really understanding what it is that are challenges, and basically how we can collaborate and overcome some of those challenges as a collective app team.
Brilliant. That seems like a good place to wrap it up, and we're at 1 o'clock. So thank you everybody for your time. Thanks to all the attendees, and thanks for staying with us. That's excellent. These things can be great online, but they do take some concentration. I thank everyone for staying the distance. Thanks especially Jess, Martha for all the work pulling it together, and for the great content. And Dominic, thank you for sharing what you can from the co-op and being part of this. You know, it's a really exciting time. And I think just to summarise, if anybody's got any questions that haven't been answered or anything that the minute you shut down the screen, you think, oh, I wish I'd thought of that, just get in touch. I don't think there's much around this area that Jess, Martha, and the rest of the team can't answer, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much, and we will see you again soon.